Hi guys, it's me, HD, and welcome to the final 2 hours of 2021 preseason testing in Bahrain. And for me, definitely the most intriguing and important part of preseason testing, where I think we're really going to see and get a very good idea as to who does have the best car, the second best car, the third best car, so on and so forth. Who's looking good in the midfield? Will there be a different team at the very back of the grid? I think in the next couple hours, we are going to get a properly good idea of what is going to happen in that area of the grid. And hopefully you guys will today be watching along with me the session so you can see for yourself just who does have a good car and who doesn't. If not, if you are at work or at school or whatever, not school, it's a Sunday. If you are at work though, for whatever reason, then and you can't watch the session, or you're just out and about and you can't watch the session, then I'll make sure to keep you guys updated as much as I can during the final 2 hours of day 3, the final day of pre-season testing. Hopefully you guys are doing well on this Sunday afternoon for me. A nice sunny Sunday afternoon here in the UK. Oh, in my part of the UK even. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the final 2 hours, because I think we'll get probably 75-80% of the picture of, who's where. And I think we will be able to make a very good educated guess. Maybe not a guess, but a very good educated, I guess, opinion on, say, the Grand Prix in a fortnight from now and who will appear in what part of the grid. I think we can definitely be confident in what our predictions will be for that Grand Prix, I think, after these 2 hours are over. Before I get on to, though, what's happened so far in day 3, which I'll get onto again in a moment, there is one thing I do need to get into, which this piece of news happened last night after I finished streaming after testing on day 2, and it is quite sad, but we have to pay tribute. So sadly, this man, the GOAT of commentary in sports, and for me, the person I look up to when when it comes to commentary for me, Murray Walker sadly passed away yesterday. This man is Formula One. When I think of Formula One, the first person I think of is Murray Walker, because he was just everything about Formula One. You can't think about Formula One without hearing his voice or thinking about him. He was such a massive part of the sport. And it is sad, of course, that he did pass. He was, I think, 96 or 97 years old. Yeah, just very sad that it had to come out yesterday, right after a track action had finished. But yeah, this guy, he is my inspiration. Just the way he was able to, grab you, the viewer, and really make you feel incredibly excited about really anything going on track. Of course, his Murrayisms were just so funny and so great. Some of the stuff he said and got wrong at times was hilarious, but that was just Murray. One I just saw online was a quote from him where he said half the race is gone, and that means there's still half the race to go. Stuff like that. It is hilarious. It really is. But yeah, this guy, in my opinion, he is the GOAT of sports commentary. I don't think anyone comes close. I think, especially, you look at his career when he was, commentating on Formula One, and it was 25 years, 30 years, something like that. He was consistently great for that long. He never really dipped. Maybe in the last year or two, you could argue he dipped, but he was still, for me, great. And just every season, really, you could look at that he commentated on. There were great Murray Walker moments, and just great moments he commentated on that, again, you can't think of those moments, Senna and Prost, their clashes and all of that. You can't think of those moments without him, and that's why I say he is, for me, Formula One. He just embodies it. So yeah, it's very sad that he passed away. Got to say, great to see all the tributes for Murray. I mean, I think he's probably the most loved person that's ever been in Formula One, without a doubt. I don't think you could dislike Murray Walker as a person or even his commentary. I just don't see how you can. Even if you don't like it from a commentary standpoint, at least you would like it from an entertainment standpoint, because he was very entertaining. Yeah, so sad, but yeah, rest in peace to Murray Walker. Easily my inspiration for commentary, and again, the greatest of all time at commentating on any sport, and possibly the greatest commentator of all time when it comes to anything ever, in my opinion. So there you go. But now, let's get on to day 3 so far in Bahrain. So, in the morning, we had quite a few different drivers in the cars compared to now. Sergio Perez, for example, was in the Red Bull earlier. Now it's Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc was in the Ferrari earlier. Now it's Carlos Sainz. Valtteri Bottas was in the Mercedes earlier. Now it's Lewis Hamilton. And yeah, earlier, Sergio Perez, and still is, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, Sergio Perez went top earlier on the C4 compound. Charles Leclerc went second. Leclerc's lap was, I think, definitely one of intrigue, because it didn't look that bad of a lap considering what tyre he did it on. But the reason I'm not really going to buy into the hype when it comes to Charles Leclerc's lap is because, let's be honest, the conditions he set that lap in are so unrepresentative of anything we're going to be seeing in 2021. Because, you know, at that part of the day in Bahrain, it is so much hotter than, you know, most Grand Prix we go to. So I think, again, even though it was a good lap, I don't think we can use that as the indicator that Ferrari are a bit better than we were saying, you know, last night. So, yeah, I think Ferrari, I still think they've got a lot to prove in this final 2 hours. If you know, if they are as quick as that, you know, in more representative conditions, then I think really Carlos Sainz needs to be getting right up there with Leclerc later on. At the minute, Carlos Sainz is on track doing some race runs, but I still refuse to believe that lap, you know, and the hype around it, because, again, the conditions it was set in are very unrepresentative of what we're going to be racing in 2021, except for maybe a couple Grand Prix at the absolute most. And yeah, McLaren, they're looking good. AlphaTauri still looking good. Really, if you look at, you know, all the teams, as Max Verstappen is currently on the TV on a purple first sector on the test tyre, the development tyre. Yeah, if you look at all the teams so far, no team has really, and you can maybe accept Ferrari, but again, I'm not going to believe the hype into that because of the conditions. No team so far in day 3 has really shifted the opinion on what we think of them so far. And I already, at the moment, have a decent idea of what I think the pecking order is, but I'm just looking really for this final 2 hours to confirm what I think. But yeah, I think most of the teams, or no, all the teams, sorry, you know, they look about where we think they were last night. I don't think any of the running, say, in the morning really changed my opinion on that at all. So yeah, Mercedes are still not doing that many laps. I still think they do have the best car. I refuse to believe anyone else has the best car until they actually are beaten in qualifying or a Grand Prix. As Max Verstappen, by the way, does go P1 on a 129.9 on the development tyre, as Daniel Ricciardo's on the C4 tyre now. But yeah, I still think, yeah, the pecking order from what I thought it was after, you know, day 2 had finished, I still think it's about that now. Hopefully, though, a team will surprise us in the remaining hour and 50 minutes of testing. But yeah, that's day 3 so far. I think what I'll do is I'll quickly update the running order. Let me see where Daniel Ricciardo goes with this lap on the C4 compound. Comes to the line, goes P3 on a 130.3. Did not do a personal best final sector. But yeah, I think for the most representative running, we've got to wait really until the last hour, I would say, for, you know, because the sun is still out on track, still very warm. So yeah, wait till the last hour, or say hour and 15, hour and 20, and I think we'll really get a good idea of who's quick and who isn't on day 3 and going forward from this. Yeah, let me just quickly update the running order. So at the moment, Max Verstappen is in P1 in the Red Bull. And then second is Sergio Perez. Of course, he was in the car earlier. As Carlos Sainz is still going around on the C2 compound on his race runs. And then, yeah, Ricciardo is up to third. Charles Leclerc was in the car earlier, of course. He's P4. And then fifth, Lando Norris in the McLaren. I think we have to say with McLaren, they are definitely the best upper midfield team. I don't think anyone can doubt that. Because they've just looked consistently strong for basically every minute of testing. They haven't looked. There's not been a moment, if you know what I mean, where they've looked a bit off compared to where they want to be, which is, again, really at the front of the midfield pack. So, yeah, to me, they just look third quickest out of all the teams. I hope, though, they can, possibly show that they're not that far off Red Bull, because that would definitely make it interesting for the first Grand Prix at least. And remember, they do have Mercedes power now, so, and, at the Grand Prix in a couple of weeks, with this track being a power track, that's going to really suit McLaren a lot, I think. But, yeah, Alonso, you got 7th, Raikkonen 8th. Raikkonen, by the way, has done easily over 100 laps already. He's going to do a lot of laps today, is Kimi Raikkonen. I will say as well, I'm interested to see what Raikkonen can do on the lower fuel runs, because I think that Alfa Romeo is one of the teams out there, one of the cars out there, that has the potential to surprise us in these final 2 hours. Because they're definitely a lot closer to the upper midfield teams, but I think they have the potential to possibly show us that they're not just closer, they may have overtaken a team or two. So, yeah, we'll see what they show us. And then, let me just see if the rest of the order is correct. It is. So, there you go. Verstappen from Perez, then Ricciardo, Leclerc, Norris, Gasly, Alonso, Raikkonen, Ocon and Mazepin is your top 10. As on the TV, we're seeing now Lewis Hamilton on, I think, the development tyre. By the way, great to see you guys in the chat as always. Hello to Sam Soom. That's a mouthful. Hello to Michael Arvin, Rooksfoot, Tonka. Yeah, great to see you all here as usual. As, yeah, Lewis Hamilton is on an outlap on that development tyre. We'll see if he goes for it like Max Verstappen did when he went P1 just a moment ago on his run on the test or development tyre. Currently on track, in case you're wondering, is Max Verstappen, Kimi Raikkonen, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, and Carlos Sainz. And yeah, Lewis Hamilton is building up, I think, for a proper single lap. This won't be a proper, really low fuel run single lap, though, because, again, the tyre he's on is not really, representative, because it's not actually a tyre compound for this season. As he rounds the, I guess you could call it penultimate corner, or, in reality, penultimate corner. As Max Verstappen here, what's he doing? Is he on another flying lap? I don't know. Yeah, he is. He's done a purple first sector, so he's improving yet again. Is Max Verstappen. He's on the third DRS straight. Comes through turn 11. Car almost ran wide on the exit. And at the middle sector point, he has lost quite a bit of time, and he's now 0.3 down on his lap overall. So this will probably not be an improvement, because he's only got one corner left. It comes into that final corner, and car looks mostly fine as Kimi Raikkonen goes up to P5 on a 130.6. Be interested to know what tyre he was on. So let me just quickly update that as Lewis Hamilton is on a better lap. Not a purple lap, though. Yeah, Kimi Räikkönen up to 5th place. I'm going to assume Kimi Räikkönen was on the C4 tyre. If he was on the C3 tyre, though, that is a stunning lap from Kimi Räikkönen. Compared to the drivers around him, of course. As Hamilton is coming to the middle sector point, and he's 1.7 seconds down on Max Verstappen so far on the same compound. Do remember, though, Mercedes are sandbagging so heavily, so don't, read into this. They still do have the best car. I have absolutely no doubt about it. And he comes to the line, probably improve his lap time, will he? Yeah, he does, to a 1:32.5, and he goes up to 13th place, does Lewis Hamilton. So let me just update that just a moment. But yeah, I think a lot of people out there, when they talk about Mercedes and they're possibly in trouble, I think it's all really born out of hope. I don't think there is actually educated opinions behind that. I mean, they are not looking great on the reliability standpoint, but if you look at the pace of the car and how the car looks on track, I still think it's the best car. And yesterday proved it, because I think yesterday when Bottas went quickest, even though he was only, slightly ahead, I think, of Pierre Gasly, who was second. We know Mercedes are being a lot more conservative on fuel and power. I mean, earlier when I was watching the session, Lewis Hamilton was not even getting up to 8th gear, or even trying to, on the pit straight. So they are deliberately not pushing on the engine side, and they're probably running quite a bit of fuel as well. So I think Mercedes still definitely have the strongest car by far. Red Bull probably have closed the gap, but I still think Mercedes are still going to be, locking out the front row in a couple of weeks and winning the race quite comfortably. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be, because I've seen this story too many times. There's Kimi Räikkönen. Yep, he did a 30.6 and went P5 on the C4. So if you compare that to Perez from earlier, it's not too bad of a lap. Only, 4 tenths off. So yeah, it looks like he's pushing yet again, Kimi Räikkönen. You got to say, when you look at this Alfa Romeo on track, it definitely looks a lot better. You can just see it visually. The whole car looks better and probably does have quite a bit more power, or at least I hope it does. And yeah, Räikkönen is on 127 laps. Russell in the Williams is on 130. I'm really interested to see what he can do later when he does a lower fuel run, because we know how much you can get out of that Williams car. He might cause a surprise as Räikkönen rounds the final corner. Is he going to improve on this lap? No, he does not, but he was definitely pushing. As yet, he's up to 128 laps. Mercedes today so far, if you're wondering, I've just gone over the 110 lap mark. So a lot better of a day reliability-wise for Mercedes. They're still reliability-wise compared to, say, Red Bull. Nowhere near as, I think, confident with what they've got, but I still think they'll be fine in 2021 on the reliability side. As Max Verstappen has come into the pits, as George Russell is out on track doing race runs on the C3 medium compound tyre. As Lewis Hamilton on an outlap, Räikkönen still going around, Carlos Sainz still doing his race runs on the C2, the hardest compound tyre. And yet Russell just continuing on. Let me read the chat, though, to see what you guys are having to say. Mike Brown, Mercedes are sandbagging heavy. They don't have reliability problems. Well, they do technically have reliability problems. They had a gearbox problem on the first day, which only allowed Valtteri Bottas to do only 6 laps in the morning. So that was clearly a reliability problem. And then, you know, not doing as many laps, anywhere near as many laps as, say, teams like Red Bull, Alpine, and Alfa Romeo, and, you know, teams like that. Not doing anywhere near as many laps as them. That is still a reliability issue or worry for Mercedes, because, of course, the more running you do without problems, the more confident you'll be that you won't have a reliability problem, or the more confident you'll be that the reliability of your car is pretty good. Because Mercedes have not done that much running compared to other teams in the 3 days of testing, I don't think Mercedes can be confident that they have a reliable car. I think they can definitely be confident they've got a very quick car and the best car on the grid, because I still, again, think they have that. But it's not, you know, it's not the best thing for them, you know, going into the season, not having as much running, definitely, as they would have wanted. Because normally Mercedes do tend to be at the top of the laps completed chart. But this season, in pre-season testing, that's not the case. But yeah, as I've said, as long as they stay reliable, for at least the first Grand Prix, I still see them easily winning the Grand Prix in a couple of weeks. Hello to Ronan Brady in the chat. Great to see you. Geordie Boxtel 74 says, hoping Max can beat Hamilton this year from or with a good car. I think Max Verstappen will definitely win races this season. Say, well, when I say he'll win races, I don't mean he'll win it on pace. I'm never going to predict Max Verstappen to win a Grand Prix, because I don't think on pace Max Verstappen will ever have a car quick enough to win win a Grand Prix in 2021. But he will win races, because, look, at the end of the day, as much as, you know, I go on about Mercedes have the best car, I don't really see them being beaten ever. They're not going to win every Grand Prix, because they will have races where they do have a reliability issue, or they just massively cock it up like they did a couple times last year. There will be races like that. And those will be the races where, you know, Max Verstappen will probably pick up a couple victories. But if you would ask me, do I see Max Verstappen winning a Grand Prix because the Red Bull car is quicker? I don't see it at all. But he will win a couple Grand Prix, because, again, there will be races where Mercedes falter. Because every big team will have, you know, one of those days. As Daniel Ricciardo on the C4 compound has done a purple first sector. He's almost half a tenth up on Max Verstappen so far. This is a good run for Ricciardo. Be very impressed if he could go P1 as he comes into turn 9 and 10. Car looks good. And I've got to say, like I've said, I think earlier and before so far in testing, this McLaren does look just good. It really does. No real weaknesses that I've seen with this car so far, as he comes through turn 11 quite comfortably, and turn 12, which is just flat out. And he is 0.02 of a second down on Max Verstappen after the 2 sectors. But now we only have 1 corner to go with 2 straights on either side of that, rather. So if the Mercedes power unit is pulling a lot of power, Ricciardo might be able to go quickest with this. And he does not. He goes 0.2 down on Max Verstappen. But that was a good run for Daniel Ricciardo. Very good run. And I think he can definitely go quicker with that. Let me just update the order for you guys. So Daniel Ricciardo up to second. And if McLaren do have, say, clearly the 3rd quickest car for 2021, who's to say they can't win a Grand Prix if Mercedes falter for a couple races in the season? I did predict in my early 2021 season prediction video that McLaren, I think, will win a Grand Prix this season. Again, not because they've got a quick car, but because they'll be close enough to those, that part of the grid where if something happens, they'll be able to capitalise. And if you obviously remember back to last season with Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault, that was quick at certain times, but wasn't at others, he capitalised a lot to get some great results and obviously a couple podium finishes in the Renault, as Sebastian Vettel is now on track on the C3 compound of tyre, as he's now coming to turn 9 and turn 10. He is improving on this lap. Let's see where he will go compared to Daniel Ricciardo. That will be the, I think, most interesting thing to see here, is what Vettel can do compared to Daniel Ricciardo on that compound. And, well, he's definitely going a lot slower. Yeah, he's, I think he's on more of a race run because he's 3.5 seconds down and goes a bit wide on the exit of turn 13. And I have to say, with Aston Martin, even though I do think there is still quite a bit for them still to show, I still think there is more in that car than they've shown so far. They're definitely not showing as much as, well, not showing as much, but as Vettel goes up to 15th, they're definitely not as good as we thought they possibly would be. Their pre-season testing program, you know, so far, and really over the 3 days, has not been as good as what testing was for the same team when they were Racing Point a year ago. I still think Aston Martin will be, you know, top 10 runners for sure. I don't think Aston Martin are going to drop outside the top 10. And I still think for this Grand Prix, because of the power unit they have, I still think Aston Martin are going to be probably getting at least one of their cars into the top 7 on the grid. But as Alonso goes up to 5th in the Alpine on the C3 compound, that's a good lap. That's a really good lap for Fernando Alonso. Yeah, I still think that, you know, they haven't quite shown, or they haven't quite impressed us as much, again, as we thought they would. Still don't think they've got a bad car or anything, but I don't think they've maybe progressed as much as we thought they would. So yeah, Fernando Alonso up to 5th in the Alpine on the C3 compound. That's a very good lap. That's probably the most impressive lap I've seen so far, because he's only probably half a second off of Max Verstappen and, well, off of Daniel Ricciardo as well. Well, only 0.3 off of Ricciardo on the same, or on a harder compound. So yeah, that's a good lap from Fernando. And I will say with Alpine, so far in testing, I've not actually thought they've been that good. I still don't think they actually have that good of a car yet. I need to be shown, you know, in this last hour and a half, and that lap really did help my opinion on them. But I need to be shown, is what I'm saying, in the next hour and a half especially, whether they do have a good car for this year. Because I'll be honest, first couple days, even though reliability has been great for Alpine, and for, of course, the Renault power unit, I still don't think they have that quick of a race car. The thing is, though, which is going to make it really confusing, I think, for us at points this season, is because Fernando Alonso's so good and has such a reputation of, you know, dragging whatever car he's driving into positions that it maybe doesn't deserve to be in. We may think the Alpine is, say, a car that should be around 11th, 12th on the grid, but Fernando might be 7th or 8th, for example, in the first Grand Prix. So it's going to be very hard to gauge where they're going to be at a lot of points this season because of how good Fernando is. As Kimi Räikkönen on another flying low-fuel run on the C4 compound, and he improves his first sector. He's only 0.03 of a second down on Max Verstappen after the first sector. And yeah, the Alfa Romeo on board, it does look a lot better. The only weakness I can really see is it is a bit twitchy on the rear end at times. The front end looks a lot better than it did a year ago. A year ago, it had no front end at all. But yeah, the front end's a lot better. The rear end, again, though, is a bit twitchy here and there. As Kimi Räikkönen comes up to the middle sector point, and he's only 3 or just under 0.3 down on Max Verstappen so far. This is a good run, though. I mean, if he goes, say, P4 and only a tenth or two behind Ricciardo on the same tyre, that's a pretty good run for Raikkonen and really does show that Alfa Romeo mean a lot more business in 2021 as Raikkonen comes to the line and goes fourth, only half a second behind Max Verstappen. And yeah, about 0.3 of a second behind Daniel Ricciardo on the same compound. So, yeah, I think you can clearly see from that lap, just on board, never mind the lap time, you can clearly see Alfa Romeo have improved massively for 2021. And I think they're going to be a team that, maybe not the entire season, but there's going to be races this season where they're going to be, especially with Raikkonen, who is still a very good driver. There's going to be races where they are going to really shock people, I think. And I think in certain races where there's, say, a lot of cars retiring and, say, wet conditions or races where there's really bad tyre wear, I think Alfa Romeo will be a dark horse in those types of races. Yeah, Raikkonen up to fourth, and then Leclerc is now down to fifth, and it's Alonso in sixth now. Ronan Brady says, not seeing Vettel in red is extremely strange to me. It was initially for the first couple days, but I think I've pretty much got used to it, to be honest. By the way, hello to Connor Chapman in the chat, if I can speak. Let me just look, see if there's any other comments here I've missed. Ronan Brady, again, hello to you. He asks, what do you think of the McLaren design? It's a good car. It's definitely a very good looking car. From what people are saying in the paddock, it's a car that's definitely moved on. I won't say massively, but just that little bit from 2020. And yeah, McLaren are looking great. They really are looking great. And he asks also, what are your thoughts on the tyres for this year? I can't really give an opinion on that because, I mean, testing, we can't tell in testing because even though they are doing race runs, they're doing race runs mostly in conditions that, again, are not representative of the conditions that will be for this Grand Prix. So I can't really say until we get to really finish the first Grand Prix weekend. I'm assuming they'll be okay. I don't think it will be as bad as last year for tyre wear. I don't think we'll have... Because again, tyre wear, the reason tyre wear was so bad compared to other years last year was because in 2020, we had 2019 tyres. And because of, the cars being so much quicker, that's, why there was so much more degradation and all of that. But yeah, I think the tyres for this year will be fine. I think we'll see definitely a lot more one-stop Grand Prix, which is not necessarily bad because if certain teams, stop at different points and still do a one-stop, it's still interesting. Rifler, I think it is. I've just joined what is happening with Mercedes. Again, they've not done as much running as they should or they wanted to. They have had reliability problems earlier in testing. But I still think they've got the best car. I refuse to believe that Red Bull are, able to compete for victories now on a consistent basis. I just don't see it. I hope so. I really hope Red Bull can, but I don't see it. Yeah, Mercedes have just not done as much running as they should have. That's the only worry, really. Yeah, I still think they are easily the team to beat. As talking of Red Bull, on the screen we can now see, on the TV screen, we can now see Max Verstappen. I think he is on an outlap, so I think he might be going for another low fuel run on the test/development tyre. Let me just put on some new pictures for you guys. As yeah, Verstappen starts his run. There's only 3 cars on track at the moment. Max Verstappen, Kimi Raikkonen, and Nikita Mazepin in the Haas F1 car. As and another great point Tonka makes in the chat is I think people forget the cars are supposed to be slower this year from the aero changes. That will also help with tyre wear. The slower the car is, the less load they're putting in to the tyre, the less stops you're going to have to do. So, that's why last year there was so many more pit stops. Anyway, on track, Max Verstappen has done a personal best first sector, not a purple first sector. That purple first sector goes to Daniel Ricciardo, which does point to the Mercedes power unit being particularly strong. That first sector is really about power. As Verstappen is rounding turn 11, now comes through turn 12, and he is up by 0.2 of a second in the middle sector. Hasn't done a purple sector though so far, as he comes to the final corner, turn 14. And the Red Bull, again, it definitely looks a lot better than it did last year. The rear end looks a lot better. But I still, as he goes, a 0.1 quicker without setting a a purple first sector. He does go quicker for P1. The Red Bull car's a lot better, but I still don't think it's, anything to say, they're going to actually compete for the whole season for championships. Connor Chapman says Honda has the most exciting lineup of cars and teams on the grid. Not sure I'd say that. But I will say, I think Red Bull and AlphaTauri are probably, if you look at the top 3 or 4 teams that have had the best, say, testing period, I think Red Bull and AlphaTauri, of course, the 2 Honda-powered teams, are definitely up there. And from what I've heard, again, we will see, I think after qualifying especially, the top speeds and who's struggling in a straight line and who is not. But from what I've heard, the Honda power unit is quite a step forward on last year. And the reason that would be is because the power unit that Honda have for 2021 was originally supposed to be for 2022. But because they're leaving at the end of the year, they brought it forward. So, if that does work, then it should work big time at the power tracks, such as this one in a couple weeks' time. But we'll see in a couple weeks. Ronan Brady says that WTF1 was saying that Bahrain will become a boring race like Barcelona due to testing at the track. I can see this happening. I completely disagree with that, because look at the track layouts. Even if you did no testing around Barcelona, it's not going to make the race more interesting. You can't really overtake around that track. So I don't really see that point. If you look at this circuit, you've got a really long pit straight with a very heavy braking zone. You've then got, the straight, another DRS straight right after up to turn 4, then the exit of that corner. You've got the straight between turn 10 and turn 11. You've got the back straight right before the final corner. You've got plenty of places to overtake here. In Barcelona, you have one long pit straight, but you've got to be, 3 or 4 tenths of a second behind the car in front to really have a hope of overtaking. So I completely disagree with that point. I don't agree with that at all. This track is immensely better for racing than the Circuit de Catalunya. Even though I do think the Circuit de Catalunya, if you look at just the pure track and the corners, I think it's a more exciting track to watch the cars just on their own. Again, for an actual Grand Prix and overtaking, it's definitely not a good track. But if you just want to watch the cars on their own, it's a very good track to watch the cars. I've, of course, been to testing a couple years ago at that circuit, and there are some corners where the cars just do look great on their own. As Yuki Tsunoda is out on track after a spin earlier, and he's on the C4 tyre, so let's see what AlphaTauri can do as we enter the final hour and 20 minutes of pre-season testing. And his first sector time compared to Verstappen is about 0.3 down, which is it's okay for the first sector. Not too bad. And comes through turn 8 hairpin, now into turn 9 and 10. Gotta say the AlphaTauri in the middle sector definitely does look strong. As soon as I say that, Yuki Tsunoda locks up at turn 10, but from the laps I've seen from earlier in the weekend, the AlphaTauri in the middle sector does look quite strong. As Tsunoda through turn 11 he comes just fine. This probably won't be that good of a first run, but again it is a first run, so I'm sure he'll give us a lot more later on, as he's 1.1 seconds down on Max Verstappen after the first 2 sectors. And now comes up to the final corner, and front end looking great on the AlphaTauri. I say that he runs a bit wide, but I think that's because he caught some of the curb on the left slightly, but the front end did go in nicely as he goes up to P9, about 1.5 seconds down. But yeah, he can definitely go a lot quicker than that, because he did make a couple mistakes on that lap. So let me just update the order quickly for you guys. So Yuki Tsunoda up to P9. I will say as well, I think Yuki Tsunoda, out of the rookies on the grid, to me looks like one that's probably going to be winning Rookie of the Year. Mick and Nikita won't, I think mostly because of the car. But yeah, I think he's looking good, is Yuki Tsunoda. As Fernando Alonso is now the C4 compound. Let's see what he can do. As at the middle sector point, he is about 0.3 down on Max Verstappen. This is still a good enough lap, though, to probably put him up higher than 6th place. As he comes now to the final corner. And Alonso comes round and now opens a DRS. Where will Fernando Alonso go? Up to P4, half a second down. If he can improve that middle sector, though, then, yeah, still definitely more in that lap, or more in the car for today, considering the program they're on. But yeah, Alpine are definitely impressing me more tonight, or not tonight, but today, rather than what they were, the previous couple days. So yeah, let me just complete the rest of the order. I'll do Alonso also in a moment. Daniel Ricciardo is on an outlap. We're now looking at him on the TV broadcast. He is on the C4 compound of tyre. So, yeah, we'll see how much he can improve by on this lap. I will say as well, I really do hope, as Mercedes are in the pits currently, I do hope Lewis Hamilton does come out and do a proper low fuel run, just so we can see, or, get a gauge on how big the gap is to the rest. Because that is something I do want to see before the session finishes in about an hour and 16 minutes. As he's currently, Lewis Hamilton, of course, down in 14th position. And as well, another team that does need to show a bit more is, of course, Aston Martin, because they did some low fuel running yesterday and they didn't look that bad. And they're still definitely in the fight with McLaren and AlphaTauri and teams like that, but they still aren't looking quite as strong as I think people thought they would. But, yeah, Vettel 16th and then Carlos Sainz 17th and then Stroll 18th. So there's, and actually, no, I just need to update Alonso up into P4. Another thing I am excited for in 2021, looking at just the order there, is that if you look at the midfield, as Ricciardo's come straight back into the pit, strangely, if you look at the midfield teams that we're going to have and the drivers, you've got so many great drivers. I mean, you've got Alonso, Raikkonen, Vettel, Ricciardo, most likely, Leclerc in there, Sainz, Norris, Gasly. It's such a strong midfield, and especially if we can get Alonso, Raikkonen and Vettel battling in, the same battle on track, that is going to be so great to see. Because obviously, they are legends of Formula One, and they have, between them, 7 world championships. So they're not exactly bad drivers, are they? As talking of Raikkonen, he's out on an outlap. Ricciardo's back out on an outlap again. So is Max Verstappen as well. See what Kimi Raikkonen can do in the Alfa Romeo. Let me just read the chat quick to see what you guys are saying. By the way, great to see Nib in the chat. Chaz, will you agree that Red Bull are in a position to contend? And he also says, Chaz, Aston Martin won't be running, it looks like. The screens are up. Oh, that's not good. Also, Aston Martin, if you're wondering, they've also had reliability problems. They had a gearbox problem on day 2, and looks as though they have one now as well. So, yeah, that's not good at all. So, yeah, will I agree that Red Bull are in a position, if I can speak, to contend? No, I will not. I still don't think they are. They will be closer, for sure. They will be closer. And I think the main reason they'll be closer is because this Red Bull car, is literally the car they had at the end of last season. Of course, with a new floor to come in line with the regulations. But it is, last year's car. And I think that's what's really benefiting Red Bull so far, is that they're building on the car that finished the season a lot better than the one that obviously started. So I think Red Bull, again, they'll be closer. But if I was to predict the top 3 on the grid right now, for, the race in a couple of weeks, it's still going to be Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen. That's still what I'm going to go for. And until I'm proven wrong, I'm not going to go for anything else. As Kimi Raikkonen has done his first sector on this flying lap, 7,000ths of a second down on Max Verstappen after just the first sector. Very good first sector for the Iceman. As he comes into turn 9 and 10. And slight hesitation, I think, on turning there was there. He comes up to the third DRS straight. And Raikkonen now through turn 11. Front end was great there through turn 11. And let's see what his middle sector time is. It is a yellow. And yeah, bit of oversteer on entry to turn 13. As I've said on his previous lap, the only thing I can see with this Alfa Romeo that needs work on is the rear end. Just on the entry to the corners and the front end, there was a bit poor, but on the other corners, the front end looks great, to be honest. As Raikkonen stays in P5. But yeah, the rear end on the entry to the corners does look a bit unstable on the Alfa Romeo. So they do need to improve the rear end stability. But other than that, aerodynamically, the car looks fine to me. But let me look at the chat to see other comments here. Tonka says Kota is so underrated. Glad to see it on the calendar again. Sad to see Vietnam is not included. The Circuit of Americas is a great track. I don't care what anyone says. We've had so many great races there. The track itself is great, especially in qualifying. It's fast. It's a proper driver circuit. It really does challenge the drivers in ways that other tracks don't. It's a great circuit. I actually think with that track, what makes it so great is that it tests the cars and the drivers to the, to their absolute maximum. There's other tracks on the calendar where, it will test the drivers a lot, but it won't test the cars a lot because a lot of the track is, not that tough for the cars. But that circuit, again, it tests how good the cars are in, again, slow speed corners, high speed corners, how good the power unit is, of course, on the long back straight. And for the drivers, it really does test them on, their just accuracy at such high speed. So it's a great track. It really is. I don't know why it gets so much hate when it's never really produced. I can't really remember a race there that's been, boring. Maybe there's been one that's been not that good, say 2013. Or maybe even 2014, but most of the races there have been pretty good. As Carlos Sainz has done a personal best first sector on the C2 compound. Is still half a second down, though, on Max Verstappen. As comes into turn 9 and 10. And car looks fine through there. Opens the DRS. Be interested to see where Carlos Sainz goes in comparison, if I can speak, to Daniel Ricciardo. Because Ricciardo, of course, on a 130.1 on the C4 compound, which is about a second a lap quicker than the C2. And at the moment, Carlos Sainz is doing a pretty good lap on this compound. This is a pretty good lap from Carlos Sainz. Comes into the final corner. We'll see where he goes. And comes up to the line and he does a 1 minute 31.0. Yeah, that's a good lap. That's a really good lap. On that compound, that's a really good lap. I reckon if he's on the C4, he probably would be right up there with Daniel Ricciardo, if not slightly ahead. So, am I wrong? Are Ferrari actually good? We'll see. More, hopefully, in the final hour and 8 minutes. Let me just update that. So, Carlos Sainz up to 9th in the Ferrari. And then Yuki Tsunoda down to 10th, who is still on track. Lewis Hamilton on track on the C4. So here we go. Going to see what he can do. Hopefully, he won't make a mistake or back off for any reason. This will be a full, quali sim run. Even though, of course, they are still probably running some fuel and not running optimum power. And hopefully on the TV they steal this onboard shot so I can see if they're running 8th gear. No, they cut away as soon as I say that. Fucking great. Yeah, that lap, as I said, from Carlos Sainz, that was a pretty good lap. And might just indicate the Ferrari are a bit quicker than we thought. Let me just complete the rest of the order quick before Lewis Hamilton obliterates all human life. And we're just watching at the moment on the TV Carlos Sainz on board when we should be looking at Lewis Hamilton, who is on a flying lap. So I don't understand. As Yuki Tsunoda goes second. Second for Tsunoda on the C4 compound. That's a great lap. Where's that come from? There you go. Double six thrown right in there. And that just yet again points to AlphaTauri. Even if you don't think they're quicker than McLaren, they are definitely quite a bit quicker than they were this time last year. They've definitely got a strong midfield car. As Lewis Hamilton about 0.8 of a second down on Max Verstappen so far. So he'll probably go P7, P8 with this lap. So we'll see as he comes round the final corner. And Lewis Hamilton, yeah, P7 or P8 this should be. And no, goes 10th, 1.1 seconds down. So, yeah, I don't know what happened in the final sector. Maybe he wasn't quite pushing so hard, I don't know. But I don't know why he lost so much time in the final sector. It's only one corner and 2 straights. So, yeah, great lap, though, from Yuki Tsunoda. That's one of the most impressive laps of testing so far for me. And what's this? Carlos Sainz on board. Just showing a replay of him on board. I don't understand what this replay is about. Unless he's holding someone up or he's got something broken on his car. I don't quite... Unless, well, if someone in the chat can point out what it was. I mean, they're working on the front end of the car, so maybe the front wing was hanging off or something. I don't know. But I couldn't really see what the problem was there. Anyway, Tsunoda up to second. Great run from him. We know that if that was Gasly, he'd probably go 10th or 2 quicker because Gasly, of course, is better. No disrespect. And, is still driving as well as he was at the end of just really during last season. As George Russell is on the development tyre for this single flying lap. Yeah, Alonso in 5th place. And then Raikkonen 6th. Charles Leclerc is in P7. As Russell and Yuki Tsunoda he's on another lap. He's on a purple first sector. Here we go. Tsunoda, he's really on a great run here. Let's hope he can improve this lap and wow us even more. And yeah, front rear end looks great through turn 11. And at the middle sector point, he is... Or he's not improved. He has done a slower middle sector compared to his personal best. So this is probably not going to be an improvement, unfortunately. As Russell coming up to the middle sector for his flying lap. Russell 1.8 seconds down after the first 2 sectors. Tsunoda, yep, doesn't improve his lap. So he must have been a mistake. And here comes Russell. To the end of his lap. He'll probably go, around P10 to P12 with this lap? Let's see. Comes to the line. P14 even. That's not a great run compared to what I thought they were going to do. So, yeah, let me just complete the order here. So you've got Lewis Hamilton now up to 10th position. And then 11th is Carlos Sainz. 12th is Esteban Ocon. And then 13th is Mazepin. And then 14th will be Russell. 15th, Mick Schumacher. I still think Williams will probably, for this season... if we look back to the back of the grid battle, I still think Williams will probably have the quicker car compared to Haas F1, because even Haas, as team principal, has come out and said that the development of this car will be basically non-existent. So if Williams don't finish 9th, they really should be disappointed, because Haas are basically letting them finish 9th this season. We should complete the back end of the grid. Not Bottas, it's Bottas. As Ricciardo's on another flying lap on the C4. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if he can go ahead of Yuki Tsunoda in the McLaren. I'm pretty sure he can. As let's see what his first sector time is. Oh no, he's on a race run. Yeah, because he's 2.5 seconds down in the first sector. So yeah. Let me go back to these pictures for you guys. And I'll just quickly read the chat. As Ricciardo's on this clear race run. Let me see what comments I've missed. Let me just see. Nib, who was... Hold on, let me just see where that comment's gone. It's just gone away. He says... Where is it? Oh, where's it gone? I'll find it in the chat. It was just there. There you go. Who was saying that them carrying the cars over would help Chaz? I wonder who said that. If there's any others, no. Well, actually, let me just go to the start of the ones I've missed. As Lewis Hamilton is on, after that quick lull, is on the C4 still and is on an improved lap. Let's see what he does when he comes to the line. He goes P8, 8 tenths down on Max Verstappen. That's a lot more like it, considering I still think they're running quite a lot more fuel than others. So, Lewis Hamilton is now up to 8th place. Lando Norris is P9. And P10 is Pierre Gasly, of course, who was in the car from earlier. As Fernando Alonso is now on track on the C4 for another flying lap with now just under an hour to go until the end of pre-season testing. Just want to say, though, guys, don't forget, I will be staying on for an extra half an hour today once the day finishes, because what I'm going to be doing is talking about how the teams have done, you know, as really a quick review, you know, how the teams have done in testing and what I think the pecking order is and what I think it's going to be looking like, you know, who's going to be where in Bahrain in a couple of weeks, considering the layout of this track. So don't forget to stick around for that later on. And also don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as I will be covering the Bahrain Grand Prix in full with a qualifying watch-along and a race watch-along and maybe some other things as well. Also, there'll be a couple videos between now and the first Grand Prix, reviewing testing and previewing the 2021 Formula 1 season, as Alonso does not improve his first sector. So don't forget to subscribe to that, or for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or click on my channel name, go to the channel page and do it there. Make sure to hit the notifications bell as well. Smash the like button. Don't forget to share this video everywhere you can. And yeah. As Alonso, I've got to say his car is sparking a lot. Don't know if he ran over a curb a bit too hard, but he kind of dazzled me with the amount of sparks coming out the back. As Alonso in the middle sector, he is 3.5 tenths down on Max Verstappen. So this is a good run for Alonso. He's about on pace where Daniel Ricciardo is so far. Let's see if he can go even quicker than Ricciardo and Tsunoda. As Alonso rounds the final corner, comes to the line, and Fernando Alonso stays 5th. He did not improve his final sector, and he remains in P5. That's a bit disappointing, because I thought he would have gone probably up to 4th at least. But he didn't improve. As Raikkonen is on an outlap now, so is Yuki Tsunoda in the Alfa Tauri. Let me get back to reading the chat, though. Hamilton putting on the softs and the glove. Are the gloves off? No, not really. Because again, they're not really pushing on the engine and stuff like that. Rona Brady asks, what aspect of F1 interests you most? The data, pit stop, or the aerodynamics or designs of cars? The most interesting thing to me, other than, of course, you know, the racing itself, is strategy. You know, when people pit, the compounds they use, tyre wear, you know, stuff like that. That's, for me, the most interesting part. And if I wanted one job in Formula 1, it would have to be as a strategist for a team. I would absolutely love to be one, because that intrigues me the most. As Yuki Tsunoda, a great first sector, almost 2 tenths up on Max Verstappen in the first sector. Does, though, run slightly wide at turn 8. Front end didn't quite go in, as Raikkonen's done a purple first sector now, but he is on Raikkonen, the C5, softest compound. As Tsunoda now comes up to turn 11. Let's see how the car looks through here. Looks great. Now into the middle sector, or middle sector time beam, and he is slightly up on Max Verstappen, about 0.03 of a second, but he has not done a purple sector, so going to be close. This should be an improvement, though. Raikkonen's definitely going to improve, as Yuki Tsunoda rounds the final corner. Front end looks nice, doesn't run wide this time, and now he comes to the line and goes P1. Yuki Tsunoda, P1 in the Alfa Tauri on a 1:29.7. That's a very good lap. As Raikkonen now goes P1. So Kimi Raikkonen to the top. He is on the C5 compound though, but that, I think, is a very impressive lap from Kimi Raikkonen and from Yuki Tsunoda as well. So again, as I said yesterday, Alfa Romeo and Alfa Tauri, you can clearly see, are the most improved teams, because this time last year they were not, even though they were kind of pushing in the the end of testing, they were nowhere near as quick as this. So Raikkonen to the top of the timesheets, with Tsunoda second, and now Verstappen down to third. Verstappen currently in the pits. And then in P4, Daniel Ricciardo, who is on track, but again on a race simulation. So Ricciardo fourth, and then fifth is Sergio Perez, who of course was in the car earlier. And then sixth is Fernando Alonso, who I think has a lot more to give in this final 53 minutes, because on the laps I've seen him do, he hasn't quite got it all together, the whole lap. There's been certain sectors or corners where he's just not quite got it right. But once he gets it right, I think we have no doubt that he's going to probably get right up there with Raikkonen and Tsunoda. Yeah. There you go. Let me look at the chat for some more comments quick. Woo, Honda Power, let's go. Nib says Sainz has a gear shift problem. That's what the problem was with his car. Okay. As Tsunoda is going for another run on the C4. Can he go even quicker? That'd be impressive if he could do another, say, 10th of a second up on what he did a couple minutes ago. Let's see what he does for the first sector time compared to Kimi Raikkonen. No, this is not an improved first sector. He is quite a bit down on his personal best. So yeah, this is not going to be an improvement. Lab Gorilla asks Ferrari to finish third in the championship. Based on right now, I don't think I can say that. But this is the thing. If they, in the final 50 minutes, they can get Carlos Sainz back out on track and do a low fuel run and go top, for example, or, can, in comparison to McLaren, go, say, a couple tenths quicker, then I think that would really impress me and shift my opinion on them. But at the moment, I don't think I can say that. For me, the top three is clearly Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren. I don't really think it's anyone else, because no one else has really shown me anything that says, yeah, this year in the top three in the championship, it's going to be someone else. I mean, Alfa Tauri, of course, looking very quick at the moment, but we need to see what McLaren respond with before we make a final judgment at the end of day 3. As Max Verstappen is going to come out on the C3 medium tyre for a race simulation. So I think Max Verstappen's pretty much done for low fuel running. Connor Chapman says, great to see them start pushing the cars. Alfa Tauri has nothing to lose. Might as well throw some punches. Let me see if there's any others here I've missed. Michael Arvin, no, Chazza, your calling is to replace Murray Walker. You are the best since Mr. Walker. Well, thank you very much. I disagree with that, but, if that's what you think, then thank you very much. As on the TV, they're showing replays of Raikkonen going quickest and Tsunoda and that. Rooks for PR manager at Scuderia. No, come on. Yeah, strategy job at going at Ferrari, maybe. I still cannot believe that. What's his name? Inaki Rueda. I still cannot believe he has a job as a strategist at that team. I don't understand why. How many mistakes do you have to make before a team is like, yeah, this is over. How many times does he need to fuck up before someone pulls the trigger and fires his ass out of that team? As Lewis Hamilton on the C4 tyre. His first sector, 0.2 down on Raikkonen, so a good first sector, I think, considering Raikkonen was on the C5 and Mercedes are still not quite pushing as much as they could on power and fuel. And now onto the mid part of the lap, the back, well, not back straight, but the third and final DRS straight. And Hamilton comes up to the middle sector point. Where will he be time-wise? About half a second down. So again, considering that we know they're still saving a lot back, I still think this is a pretty good lap for Lewis Hamilton. Rounds the final corner. And, yep, car looks great through there. Russell on a C4 compound, only 0.7 down after the first two sectors. So good for him as Lewis Hamilton goes up to P7. Russell, though, might end up going quicker than Hamilton. Let's see as Russell rounds the final corner. And he will come to the line. And where will Russell go? P9. Not quite quicker, but that's a good run from Russell. And I think if you look comparatively wise to the rest, I think that's the first proper run that Williams have done with low fuel, which is actually impressive. A good run there from Mr. Saturday. So yeah, let me just update the order quickly. Lewis Hamilton, of course, up to P7. And then in 8th place now, Charles Leclerc, and then Russell 9th as Max Verstappen. On a C3 compound, I don't see this being a quali sim. Don't see why he would do it on a C3. Why not just go for a C4? I mean, we'll see after the first sector, but I think it will show clearly that he's not on one, if you know what I mean. Yeah, Russell up to 9th. Again, that's the first lap from Williams where you think, well, that's an impressive lap. As Max Verstappen, first sector time. Pretty good first sector time, actually. Just under a 10th down on Raikkonen. So this is actually well, he is. Yeah, this is a proper single lap run. I didn't think it would be because I thought he probably would have gone for a compound softer tyre. But there you go. They're trying to not quite show their hand, I guess. And he's on to the third DRS straight now. He's got a McLaren up ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, who's on an outlap. Oh, Verstappen's run wide. He's still a 10th down on Raikkonen. Yeah, he ran wide and that cost him a lot of lap time. Probably trying to pass the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo. So, and as the AlphaTauri, or not AlphaTauri, the Williams moves out the way. Verstappen into the final corner. And Max Verstappen, will he go quickest with this? He does. That's impressive considering he went wide clearly at turn 11. Goes P1. So that's a very good lap. Because if you compare that to, say, Daniel Ricciardo's lap, he's half a second quicker almost. And yeah, clearly ran wide, kept his foot down. I don't know if he gained anything from that. I don't think he did. But still went quickest even though he went off the track. There you go. But yeah, if you compare it to Ricciardo's time, he's about half a second quicker on a compound harder tyre. So that's probably the first really low fuel run I think Red Bull have done. As Alpine now on a lap. Or are they not? No, they're not, because Alonso's not got DRS open. I'll update the top of the order in a moment. Just want to do the back end of the grid. Now that Russell has gone up the order, it's obviously changed around quite a bit. Also, another team that struggled, I think, with reliability is also Ferrari. Because they had a slight issue on Friday. And then today, at the moment, they've had an issue with the gearbox. So not looking great reliability-wise for Ferrari, I have to say. Pace-wise, though, at this current point, I don't think anyone can say, you know, Ferrari are this, Ferrari are that. I don't think, again, any of us can say that. But yeah, Max Verstappen P1 with a very impressive lap. And that might actually be the first lap I've seen from Red Bull that has actually made me think, you know, yeah, Red Bull have got quite a bit better of a car this year. Because again, if you compare it to Ricciardo's lap, when Ricciardo was on a one step softer compound, Max, considering the fuel load he was on, the amount of power he was using, that's a great lap from Max Verstappen. That really is a very impressive lap. Still, though, I do not think Red Bull have the best car. So if anyone in the chat thinks I'm going to say that, then you're going to be very disappointed. Especially Nib, who just wants me to concede. There is hope in the world, but I say no. So there you go. Verstappen P1. Oh no, Yuki Tsunoda's now P1. 129.6. What a lap that is. On the C4 compound. Get in. Gotta say, again, AlphaTauri, they've impressed. I've been the most impressed by AlphaTauri out of any other team. But tonight, they are, not tonight, but this afternoon, they are really impressing me with the pace they have on these lower fuel runs. Because, again, if you compare that to what McLaren have done so far, and I'm sure McLaren will respond later on, because we still do have 43 minutes to go. That's a very impressive lap. Very impressive lap. Yeah, that moves Max Verstappen down to second place. And then Raikkonen now down to third. Yeah, look at that. AlphaTauri. I mean, they said in their preseason preview that they want to be right at the front of the midfield for this season, and I thought that was a bit unrealistic. But if you look at the car at the moment, I mean, maybe they're not going to be at the front of the midfield, but they're definitely going to be a position or two higher with this car. As we'll see if Tsunoda goes for another lap. But currently on track, we have Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Alonso, and Russell. Alonso and Ricciardo, I think, are on race simulations. Ricciardo's on the hard compound tire at the moment. And then Tsunoda's coming back into the pits after his quali sim. So there you go. Let me read the chat again to see what you guys are saying. Supercub says Q3 in a couple of weeks. They'll be doing 128s. Mark my words. Lots of sandbags still on. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, they'll be probably in the 1 minute 28s in Q3. But they're not that far away from, you know, I mean, the laps they're doing at the minute, say with Tsunoda, Verstappen, Raikkonen, they're doing lap times you would do probably in practice too on the Grand Prix weekend. Let me look at the chat. See if I've missed anything. Connor Chapman, Chaz, what type of fast times can we actually expect in Q3? As I said, I think it'll be 1 minute 28s. Maybe Mercedes will get into the 1 minute 27s. Yeah, I say for the top 10, I reckon there'll be a few teams getting a 1 minute 28, probably a late 1 minute 28. What is this grid boy thing? Michael Arvin, Nib, I may pay for all of us to fly to Monaco for that reason. Oh, Jesus Christ. We're all going to go to Monaco and be grid boys. That's definitely not something I am up for. Let's see if there's any other comments I've missed that need reading out. Ewok says Verstappen's first F1 World Drivers' Championship for sure. No, come on. Don't do it. Remember 2 years ago with the whole, Ferrari half a second clear. Just don't. Like I said in that video, and by the way, Nib, I'm not 10 years behind anymore. I finally caught up. Like I've said before in my video I did on Mercedes, the Mercedes Empire video. You know, they, as far as I'm concerned, they're going to win every Grand Prix. And the only Grand Prix they won't win will be ones where they just fuck up. Not because they're slow or too slow. Tsunoda, by the way, if you're wondering, on an outlap. Hopefully on another soft compound tyre. So we can see another run from Yuki Tsunoda. In the ever fast AlphaTauri. What's up with Aston Martin? Asks Ewok. Reliability problems at the minute, and it was yesterday, but also Aston Martin, they've always been, when they were Racing Point especially, they've always been one of those teams that have never really pushed that hard in testing. They're probably the Mercedes of the midfield when it comes to sandbagging. Like I said yesterday, they tend to conserve and not really show their hand as much as other teams like McLaren and AlphaTauri and, you know, teams like that. So I still think Aston Martin have a good car. Is it better than last year? Probably not, but it's still a good enough car, no doubt. And I still think you'll see Sebastian Vettel in the top 10 on the grid in a couple of weeks. Probably in the top 7 or 8 on the grid, considering this track layout, which normally that team does tend to be good at, as Lewis Hamilton comes out onto the track on a new set of tyres. Don't know what tyres they are. As Yuki Tsunoda heads down the pit straight, and he is on... what tyres are those? C5s. Here we go. Absolutely going for AlphaTauri. Let's see what they can do. He's got Mercedes ahead of him. Hopefully Lewis Hamilton moves out of the way. He does. As Tsunoda flies into turn 4. And he does a purple first sector, 0.2 of a second up. This is looking like a great lap. You can just see the way the car's moving. It looks great. He's really giving it some as well. As Tsunoda drops into turn 9 and 10. Car sparking like mad. Locks the inside front, but he didn't actually go that wide, so he may have only lost half a tenth or a tenth at most. As he comes now to turn 11. Takes a wide turn in. That's the F2 line, or the F1 video game line. He did run slightly wide on the exit, though, so that's another half tenth gone. Quarter of a second up still, though. But I still think there's another tenth or two in this, if he really gets the lap right. As he comes now to the final corner. And he will go quicker, as long as he doesn't bottle the final corner. And he doesn't. So yeah, Yuki Tsunoda opens the DRS way too early. That's illegal. He goes quicker, but he opened the DRS so early. That was definitely illegal. There's not a DRS line there. And he goes quicker, and he's now 4.5 tenths clear of Max Verstappen, but he definitely opened the DRS too early. But yeah, that was a good lap, and I think, like I said, there's a tenth or two more in that, because he made a couple mistakes. Lock up at turn 10, and he ran wide at turn 11. So yeah, look at that. 8 tenths clear of Ricciardo on a compound that's not that much quicker. Only 2 or 3 tenths probably quicker than the C4. Yeah, look at that. AlphaTauri. Come on. Get me excited now. Let me look at the chat again. Ewok says, hopefully a strong season for McLaren. I think we're all hoping for that. We want to see them back at the front, preferably. You know, sometime in the future. Nib says, since Yuki Tsunoda is short and having less muscles, the G-force doesn't affect him that much, so he is able to do this, even it's his first season and it's not started yet. Then Nib says, sorry, nice little copy paste going around. As Hamilton is now on the C5, but he has not improved his first sector. But anyone in the chat who saw that lap, please, you saw it as well. He opened the DRS way too early. He opened it before the activation point. I definitely am not seeing things. I saw that clearly. He gained probably an extra half a tenth on his lap there. As Hamilton, 0.4 of a second down on Yuki Tsunoda on the same compound. As Hamilton into the final corner. And he should go up to probably into the top 5 with this. And he does. He goes 4th, does Lewis Hamilton. So let me update the order. So Lewis Hamilton up to 4th on the C5 tyre. Did not improve his first sector time, though, based on his, or compared to his personal best. So, again, there's more to come from him, as Russell is on the C4 compound. He's coming to the line at the end of his flying run. Russell goes P8 on a 130.3. That's a pretty good lap from Russell. If you compare that to the others on similar or step softer compound, that's a pretty good lap for Russell, and that does show that the Williams is a lot better this year, which is good news. So yeah, Hamilton up to 4th. That puts Ricciardo in 5th place. His Carlos Sainz is on track. That's good news. He's on the C3 compound, hopefully on a flying lap, so we can see a bit more of what Ferrari have to offer in the final almost half an hour of pre-season testing. Perez, is 7th. Then Alonso is 8th. Carlos Sainz, 0.4 down on Tsunoda after the first sector. Remember, though, Sainz is on a compound that should be about a second, I would say. Maybe just under a second slower than the C5. But yeah, I'd say around a second a lap slower. So if Sainz can go within, say 7 or 0.8 of a second, then that's a pretty good lap from Carlos Sainz. As we just update Russell up into 8th position. Let's see what Sainz can do in the middle sector. He's about 0.9 down, so this looks like this is probably going to be a lap that's going to go around where Fernando Alonso is. So P7-ish for him. And he rounds the final corner. Didn't look that great through the final corner. Comes to the line. P11. That was a very poor final sector. Very poor final sector. And 1.4 seconds down. As Tsunoda is on another outlap. Hopefully he's going to go for another one. Max Verstappen is also on an outlap. And he is on the C4. So here we go. Let's see what he can do. So let me just quickly update. Carlos Sainz up into 11th place in the Ferrari. But yeah, if he can improve his final sector, Carlos Sainz, then we'll get a much better gauge of where he is. As Max is going to start his lap in probably 20 seconds time. And I'll just move on if I can. There you go. To some different pictures for now. Verstappen now will start his lap. So here we go. He should go. I'm expecting him to go very quick with this lap. If he's on really low fuel, then he should be going half a second quicker than Yuki Tsunoda. Well, maybe not half a second, but, say around 0.3 of a second at least, because we do expect Red Bull to have a very quick car. As Verstappen Let's see what its first sector time is. It is half a tenth down on Tsunoda. Yes, Verstappen is on a step harder compound, but thought he may have just been up on Tsunoda, to be honest. As he comes into turn 9 and 10. And, yep, that car looks very good through there. Now into turn 11. He made a mistake here last time. Will he do it again? No. So this will be definitely an improvement in the middle sector. Might be a purple middle sector. And it is. He's almost 4 tenths up. So this is a very good lap here for Max Verstappen. Putting a marker down for the rest to follow. As he comes into the final corner. Front end just about gets in. Rear end complying nicely. Comes to the line and Max Verstappen goes P1 by 3 tenths of a second. So that's a very good run for Max Verstappen on a 1 minute 28.9. But Yuki Tsunoda is on a C5 compound and is going even quicker. Can he go P1 again? Comes to the line. No, he does not, but he did a purple final sector and he's only a tenth down on Verstappen. What is this? He's so quick. That car is so quick. He's just lap after lap banging in great laps. This is, this is just great. Great to see that, we're going to have a team in the midfield. Clearly, I think we can see now. We're going to have a team massively improving for 2021, and that team is AlphaTauri. But Verstappen has, though, still gone back up to P1. Move that up a bit. There you go. But, looking good for the 2 Honda-powered teams, Red Bull and AlphaTauri. Lab Gorilla says or asks, Chazza, will you do race watch-alongs? I don't have F1 channel and your commentary will be fun to listen to. Yeah, I will be. I think I said this earlier. I think I did. Or I did a couple of days ago. But yeah, I will be doing race watch-alongs. And I also will be doing qualifying watch-alongs again. So, yeah. In 2 weeks, I will be doing a qualifying watch-along and then a race watch-along. And then I might be doing some kind of like post-race something. Depends on what happens in the Grand Prix, to be honest. But there will definitely be a qualifying and race watch-along. The Bahrain Grand Prix. And then, yeah, for the season, really, there will be qualifying and race watch-alongs. There won't be practice watch-along because, to be honest, I have actually thought about doing practice 3 watch-alongs, possibly. So we'll see how that goes. Because the reason I can't do practice 2 watch-alongs like I used to a couple years ago on a Friday is because I work now on Fridays, so I don't have the time to do them. But I could do a practice 3 watch-along. So yeah, we'll see if I can do that. But yeah, definitely for sure, qualifying and race watch-alongs are back for this year. And I'll try to do as many as I can. I'm not going to promise, though, that there won't be, hiccups along the way, because there normally is. Let me just look on track. So Daniel Ricciardo, with 26 minutes to go, is on the C2 compound, still doing some race runs. This is vital information, though, for McLaren. I mean, we do want to see them doing some proper, low fuel runs, but this is probably more important for them. So can't blame them for doing this, as Lewis Hamilton is on an outlap in the Mercedes, hopefully on a nice, fresh set of soft compound tyres. Ricciardo coming into the final corner in a minute. Hopefully they will get to see another flying lap from Hamilton, and we go on board with Hamilton in just a moment as Ricciardo continues on. Yeah, just to update you guys as to content. So yeah, obviously going to do this stream, probably be live for another hour or so. And then, yeah, there'll be a season, pre-season testing review where we'll go through everything, me and Nib. That'll probably come out at the weekend, next weekend, because I do want to have time to edit it and make it as good as possible. And I think, you guys can agree that the more time I'm putting into videos compared to what I used to do, it's resulting in better quality content. So I don't think you guys will really be disappointed when that comes out. And then what I'm going to try and do is upload some sort of season preview video that will come out sometime before the Bahrain Grand Prix, the week of the Grand Prix. And then, a qualifying and race watch-along for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Maybe a practice 3 watch-along, we'll see. And then post that, I haven't really given it any thought because I'm really just looking between now and the Bahrain Grand Prix. I think that's really all I can do, but that's really the plan, if you're wondering. Oh, and Hamilton comes through the final corner, puts his foot down to start the lap and does a complete 360, and that lap is blown on the C5. That was very embarrassing. But yeah, if you're wondering what the plan for content is on the channel, that is the plan. So between now and, say, race day in Bahrain, you've got, 2 recorded videos and possibly 3 streams? At least 2 streams for the weekend in Bahrain. But yeah, 5 videos in the next 2 weeks. And 3 of them, of course, for the Bahrain Grand Prix, as we've seen replays of Hamilton's spin. And for that content, if you want to be around for it, and again, don't forget to subscribe for that content. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it there. Make sure as well to hit the notifications bell if you want to subscribe by going to my channel page, you can do it there. As well, don't forget to join my Discord server. Because that's a great place to get notified as to when I'm uploading, when I'm going live. And also, that server is very active. We have nearly 500 people in there, and it is very active, even at the moment. When the season gets going, it will be incredibly active, so make sure to join that. Link below in the description. As Carlos Sainz is on the C4 tyre and now on a flying lap, and he's about a 10th down on Max Verstappen. After the first sector. So good first sector. I think this is now the proper flying lap we wanted to see from this team. As Sainz now into the heart of the braking zone. Turn 9 and 10. I would be impressed if he went quicker than Ricciardo with this lap. I think that's got to be the aim with this lap from Carlos Sainz. As he now comes up to the middle sector point. Let's see how far down he is. There's a car ahead of him that gets out of the way. It's half a second down. So this is looking pretty good for Carlos Sainz and Ferrari. And now comes up to the final corner. And throws it in as Russell goes 5th on the C5. That's a great lap from Russell. Very, very good lap. And Carlos Sainz goes P3. Half a second quicker than Ricciardo on the same compound in the McLaren. But yeah, that's it. That right there is the first sign that Ferrari have improved their car that I've seen. Good news if you are a Ferrari fan. Still though, I think if McLaren went out there on a C4, I still think they could go quite a bit quicker, to be honest. So yeah, we're not going to get totally ahead of ourselves, but that is a good sign, if you're a Ferrari fan, that things are not as bad as they were looking yesterday. So, Raikkonen down to 4th. Lewis Hamilton is on another lap on the C5 compound. Has not improved his first sector, though, and he is now back down to 5th. Got to say, though, that lap for Russell, slightly quicker than Ricciardo. I mean, I know he's on a softer compound, but it's not that much quicker than the compound Ricciardo's on. So that's a very good lap from Russell. And that's, again, another indicator that that team have made, a step forward, quite a big step forward, which is good news. And yeah, Hamilton not improving on this lap, probably because of the flat spots on his tyres. So yeah, Russell is 6th. And then 7th Daniel Ricciardo, who's still on track doing race runs. As Hamilton comes to the line and does not improve his time. 1.3 seconds down on Max Verstappen. So yeah, there you go. Alonso still on track. I do hope Alonso tries and, goes for a proper run at the end, because I still think Alpine needs something to show from testing. But yeah, Perez is 8th, and then 9th you've got Fernando Alonso. So that's what I mean. He's 1.3 seconds down on Max Verstappen on the same compound, which is what I mean. With Alonso, I think they need to, with Alpine, they really do need to give it, a proper quick run to see where they are compared to AlphaTauri and McLaren, because at the moment, based on what we've seen so far, they don't look quick at all. As Alonso, again, down in 9th place. Charles Leclerc is P10. And then Lando Norris P11. Of course, they were driving earlier. The only driver who is in their car, and is outside the top 10 is Nikita Mazepin in 14th place. And I've got to say again, I think Haas F1 do have the worst car on the grid. And I think Russell will be definitely out-qualifying Haas many times in 2021. So, yeah, there you go. Just 18 minutes to go in testing. And a point that Jolyon Palmer made on the broadcast earlier when I was watching it, and it's so true. These 3 days of testing have flown by. It seemed like day one was only a few hours ago to me. It's honestly flown by. It's been great to do these 3 days and get back into the groove of things and do watch-alongs again. And, yeah. I think after this, definitely after this day, I'm really looking forward to the season now, because I think there are going to be some surprises. Definitely in the first 2 or 3 races, because remember, you've got Bahrain and then Imola, which might be a bit of an interesting one, and then the Portuguese Grand Prix at Portimao. So we are in for an interesting first 3 or 4 Grand Prix. Ed Cantwell, Sonoda Tsunami, he says. Super Kev says, I told you guys Ferrari was sandbagging. Alfa seems to have mega boost in PU, so should they? I think when it comes to, again, the whole power thing, how much power Ferrari have, I don't think we can say until, again, after qualifying in Bahrain. Because I think after qualifying in Bahrain, you'll be able to tell by looking at the stats at the top speeds on the straight, who has made progress, who hasn't. I don't think we can say right now. But yeah, Ferrari with that lap, that's again the first lap where I've thought, yeah, they're a bit better than last season. Because up until that point, up until we did that lap, I was thinking just 2020 all over again. But I think we have to stress, though, still, even though they have, put in a good lap there and they're looking better, let's not act like them being 4th in the Constructors is acceptable, because it's not. They're still miles away from where they should be. I mean, let's not even compare the Red Bull and the Ferrari. They're not up for comparison. The Red Bull is so much better than the Ferrari. So, yeah, I think, yeah, it'll be a better season based on what I've seen so far. They'll have a better car, but doesn't necessarily mean it will be a good season. It should be viewed as a good season, or that they'll end up finishing where you think they should. I mean, they may have, say, the 3rd or 4th fastest car. That doesn't mean they're going to finish 3rd or 4th in the Constructors, because as we've seen with them, they don't maximise that much the performance that they have. So, yeah, we'll see on them. But pace is looking better. That's all that matters, I guess. So Max Verstappen is starting another flying lap with 15 minutes to go in testing On the C4 compound, let's see how much he can improve by, if he does improve at all. We're looking at the steering wheel where he's already... Oh, Jesus Christ. What an awful piece of driving that was by Nikita Mazepin. That was so bad. Just hovering and frozen on the apex of turn 1. That's not going to help his image, is it? That really is not. That was so poor. Why are the team not telling him that Max is flying down the straight? And secondly, why is he not looking in his fucking mirrors? Fuck's sake. So yeah, Max's lap, really, unless he can do an amazing second and third sector, his lap's basically blown. On his steering wheel, it says he's about 0.3 of a second down. Or now he's 1/4 of a second down on his best lap so far. And now he's run wide. So yeah, this lap is basically blown. But Mazepin, the fuck was he doing? Nib says that Vettel's day is done. They don't know what the problem even is yet. Oh, that's not good. That is not good at all. As Max Verstappen, I think he's going to come back into the pits. Is he going to continue on? I don't know. But seeing a replay of it now, it's so dumb. So dumb. Just hovering on the apex. Someone is massively at fault there. Maybe it's not Nikita Mazepin, who's mostly at fault because maybe the team didn't tell him when they were supposed to. But, you know, if you're coming out of the pit lane on the pit exit, you have to at least look in your mirrors 2 or 3 times just to make sure, you know. That was so bad. Anyway, Yuki Tsunoda is on an outlap, so we'll see what he does. Hopefully he's on another set of C5s. Ed Cantwell says Haas are going to stop development on everything except mirrors. To be honest, they'll be so slow this season. I don't think there's any point in them putting mirrors on the car because it's not like they're going to see anyone behind them. So, is there any point having them on? I mean, if they take them off, at least they'll take a bit of weight off the car. Might actually improve the pace. As Alonso, we're now seeing on the TV, is on the C3 medium compound on a race run by the looks of it. I think what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to write down on this. I've got a notepad next to me. Obviously, you can't see me on the screen. But I've got a notepad next to me. I think what I'm going to start doing, I'm going to start writing down what I think the pecking order is. And what I think the pecking order will be for the first Grand Prix. Because, of course, the Bahrain track layout is different from, you know, most tracks. It's very particular. It is a power track. And the only real part of the car aerodynamically that really does need to work is your, is really the front end. Because a lot of the corners, if you don't get the front end in, you're going to be losing a shit ton of time. So, yeah, I think I'm going to start doing that. So then when the session finishes, I can read off to you guys what I think the pecking order is. So I'll just start writing that out as Max Verstappen has done a racing pit stop and come out on the C3 medium tyre. But, yeah, I think at the minute, first, the top 2 are obviously Mercedes first, and then Red Bull in second, I would say. And then for the rest, I'm not going to tell you guys until after the session finishes. But I think I've said plenty of times, I still think it's Mercedes first, and then Red Bull second in the pecking order. As George Russell is on a set of C4s by the look of it. In the Williams. And yeah, so currently on track, you've got Verstappen and Tsunoda on an outlap. Kimi Raikkonen is doing a race run. So is Daniel Ricciardo. So is Alonso. Hamilton and Russell are on outlaps. Russell's coming back in, though, to the pits. Mazepin is on an outlap as well. But I'll try and read your comments out in the chat if I can. Next week, is, well, not next week, the week after, but I see what you mean. It's the Bahrain Grand Prix. Who do you think is going to improve the most, and do you think that Mazepin is going to get thrown out of his drive before the end of the year or before? I don't think he will, because money. That's the answer to the question on Mazepin. I think Aston Martin will definitely be better than people expect in the first Grand Prix. So I think they will improve. Obviously, Mercedes will show a lot more at the Grand Prix. I think Mercedes will still win the Bahrain Grand Prix. But in terms of improvement, yeah, I'd say the only team really that will show more is Aston Martin and possibly Alpine as well. There's only two teams I can really see, showing a bit of improvement from this till, the Grand Prix. But yeah, I think with Alpine especially, it's very difficult. As Lewis Hamilton, by the way, is starting a flying lap on the C5 compound, so we'll see what he does. But I think with Alpine, it's very hard to say where we think they are, because they haven't really done a proper representative flying lap compared to, AlphaTauri, McLaren, teams like that. So yeah, it's hard to say, honestly, at the minute. Hamilton, correction. Oh, he's gone massively wide at that corner. Massively wide at turn 4. He's still on the exit of turn 4, by the way. He's still continuing on his lap, though. We'll see what he does. But he's got a Ferrari ahead of him that gets out of his way. And now into turn. I will say the Mercedes, very similar to 2019. Of course, the 2019 car was so great. It is very loose on the rear end. It's very loose in general. Doesn't necessarily mean bad with this team, because again, as we've seen in the past, they've had a loose car and it's worked out pretty well. And yeah, Hamilton is not improving on this lap at all. Also has traffic. So yeah, this is not an improvement from Lewis Hamilton. But yeah, Mercedes' car definitely doesn't look completely comfortable, but I think when they get it right, I still think they will be appearing at the top of the timesheets in a couple of weeks. I mean, hopefully Max Verstappen can compete, but yeah, my brain is definitely ahead of my heart on that one. Just writing out the pecking order that I think it is at the moment. And by the way, when I reveal this pecking order, it's not what I think the pecking order will be for the season. It's what I think the pecking order is right now. Just want to make that clear. So if I say a team is going to be in a certain place, that doesn't mean I think they're going to be there for the entire season. I just think they're going to be there for, the first maybe Grand Prix, maybe the second Grand Prix as well. So, don't get your knickers in a twist. If you think, oh, why are you putting this team in this position? Right, so as Carlos Sainz is on another lap on the C4. And, well, hasn't improved his first sector. He's quarter of a second down on Max Verstappen in the first sector. As he comes into the mid part of the lap. He'll be going through turn 11 in just a moment. Will Carlos... just completing the pecking order for... just complete the pecking order for the grid. At the moment, I will say, on this pecking order, I do believe it will be very close from 3rd down to, say, 6th or 7th. In terms of the teams, and the constructors, I still think it will be very, very, very close this season. It's going to be a great season when it comes to those teams. Sainz 1.2 seconds down does not improve on his lap time. Of course, 6.5 tenths down on Max Verstappen in 3rd place. But right, I've completed the pecking order for what I think it is right now on my notepad. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a pecking order for what I think it will be in Bahrain. Because again, the track layout does mean that there will be certain teams who will be a bit quicker in Bahrain than they will be at other tracks, obviously. So I'll just do that quickly. It will be, I think, I can reveal now, it'll be Mercedes and Red Bull, I think, first and second. Hopefully, by the way, Sergio Perez is not that far off Max Verstappen and can, you know, be up there and help, which I think he will be. And yeah, I don't think the pecking order in Bahrain will be different from what the overall pecking order will be for the first few races. I will say that. I gotta read this comment out from Connor Chapman. It's great. When I saw the Haas car, I got so excited when I saw the red, white, and blue. I thought, yes, finally my American team is putting the colours on and redefining its identity. Oh, fuck. That's a Russian flag. Yep. And obviously Russia is basically the kryptonite. Well, not kryptonite, but, you know, the biggest... How do I not offend people? You know, let's just say America and Russia don't exactly get along. Still to this day. Let's just put it that way. So we don't offend anyone. Yeah, I think the grid. I think after the top 4 on the grid, I think for the Grand Prix in 2 weeks, I think we've got a very exciting midfield coming up. It's going to look very good. By the way, everyone on track at the minute except for Fernando Alonso is on an outlap. Hamilton has come back in, granted, but got Verstappen, Tsunoda, Raikkonen, Russell, Ricciardo, and Mazepin. I've just realised though there's only 3.5 minutes to go, so I think that's basically the day's running done for pre-season testing. So there you go. We'll just complete this quickly though. The pecking order I'm on about. So, I think, yeah, the grid, as I said, we'll get in Bahrain in a couple of weeks. I think it's going to be very interesting. I think people are going to be surprised with what we're going to get. Right, so I've completed what I think the pecking order will be for, or what it is overall for now, aerodynamically and all of that putting together, and what I think it will be at the first race, considering the track layout and what teams, you know, tend to go well here and all of that. So there you go. I'll read it out in just a moment. But yeah, the day of testing, guys, is over. But don't forget, I will be around for another, say, 15-20 minutes to just round off, you know, testing and what's happened and who I think looks good and who doesn't. So don't forget to stick around for that. But yeah, that is pretty much, as I think on the TV broadcast, they've basically hidden the graphics now, because I think everyone can agree that the day's testing is over. So let me hide all of this. Yeah, let me get rid of all of that. And I'll go back to these pictures and I'll just resize it for you guys. But yeah, Max Verstappen, of course, P1 from Yuki Tsunoda, then Carlos Sainz, and then Raikkonen, Hamilton, Russell, Ricciardo, Perez, Alonso, Leclerc. That is your top 10 for the day. But let me just resize this for you guys. There you go. So, now that that's done, let's get into, with the teams, who's looking good and who's not. So we'll go team by team. So Mercedes, I still think, have the best car. I don't see Mercedes being beaten this season. I still think that despite the lack of running at times, the reliability issues suffered earlier on in, in the, I guess you could say, the weekend, I still think they'll be fine. I don't think, if you're a Mercedes fan or a Lewis Hamilton fan or a Bottas fan, I honestly do not believe there is anything really to worry about. So just, remember that. And don't believe into Mercedes are in trouble. They're not. They're really not. Red Bull have improved. The gap will be closed between them and Mercedes, but it will not be close enough for Red Bull to compete for the championship. Definitely not. Max Verstappen is going to have to drive as... Don't know what's going on there on the track. Look, Sainz and Raikkonen just went off at the final or at turn 10, and now they're like racing on for position. I don't know what they're doing. No idea what they're doing. Sainz is going for it again. I hope they don't have a collision. I don't know what these two are doing. If anyone's watching the broadcast, you can see what I'm seeing. What are these two doing? Let's see. Oh, Jesus Christ. Carlos Sainz, what are you doing? He's dive-bombed Raikkonen at turn 10. Raikkonen has just avoided a massive crash, and they've gone sailing off. He has got to get a reprimand for that. What the fuck was that? Jesus Christ. Anyway. So yeah, Red Bull will close the gap to Mercedes. There is no doubt about that. But I still don't think it'll be close enough for them to actually compete for a championship. And I think it'll still be a lot like last year. So if you're a Red Bull fan, you'll be closer, but still going to take a lot for Red Bull to actually, provide a, say, strong challenge to Mercedes. It's going to take a lot. Now after that, I think McLaren, I still think looks strong. I think Aston Martin, I still think I've got a lot more to show, and I still don't think their car is as bad as maybe some people think. Of course, reliability is currently a worry for them. But I think once they get the car working and, really go for it in qualifying in a couple of weeks, I think Aston Martin will still be fighting for points easily. With Vettel and Stroll. So if you're an Aston Martin fan, don't worry, because you're still going to be up in there. Definitely for the first Grand Prix in a couple of weeks. Alpine, don't really know what to say right now. They haven't really shown us what they can do on a proper single lap. So I don't really know what to say. We need to see, really, I guess through practice, how quick really is that car. We won't know till then. I will say, though, reliability for the Renault power unit looks great. So that is a very good thing for them. Ferrari look better than last year. They do. They look like they're going to compete more for, say, third, fourth in the Constructors. But considering how this team fucks up so much, and they will do plenty of times in 2021, that still does not mean they are going to finish in the top 4 in the Constructors. They'll be quicker. I don't think in the first Grand Prix, because I'm still not sure about their power unit. I still don't know if they'll be, fighting for, say, the top 6, 7 on the grid. But I think they're definitely going to be better than they were a year ago. For sure. Alpha Tauri, they are, without a doubt, the most improved team on the grid. That team is looking great. And I think if they can start the season off even stronger than I think, then I think they could end up really getting in that battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th. And really for them, if they were to finish in the top 5 in the Constructors, that would be a great season. So they don't necessarily need to aim for 3rd or 4th, but they are looking at the minute definitely top 5 on the grid out of all the teams in the pecking order on pure pace. I don't think anyone would deny that right now. Alfa Romeo are a lot closer. I think they'll definitely feature this season a lot in races where there's a bit of, mad tyre wear going on or wet races. They'll definitely be in there with Kimi Raikkonen and Antonio Giovinazzi. And then Williams, I think, will definitely climb off from the bottom this year. And I think they do have a faster car than what Haas F1 have. Haas car looks terrible. I think Russell will get a points finish in the Williams this season, because there will be a mental race where he can, get up in there. So yeah, I think definitely Williams will climb up from that position. Now, let me just read quickly what you guys have to say. And then we'll get into what I think the pecking order is right now on pace. And then we'll get into what I think it will actually be, pace-wise, the pecking order in qualifying in Bahrain in 2 weeks. Someone saying there, Max did not do a single lap on the C5. That's, interesting. AlphaTauri will finish 4th or 5th this year, according to Michael Arvin. I don't know yet when it comes to that. I'm still not going to make my fully final Constructors' Championship prediction until probably next week. But if I was to guess, I think they'll finish higher than 7th, which is where they finished last year. But you know what? I think I'll just get straight into it because I think you guys want to hear it. So, what I think the pecking order is right now, and I have to say as well, even though I know the same track will be used for the Grand Prix in 2 weeks, when it comes to certain teams' positions, it is also based on the fact that we haven't quite seen what they can properly do today, with a proper low fuel run at the very end of the session. So, for example, Alpine on this list are quite low down, but again, that's because they, for me, have not shown how quick they really are. So, because of that, I can only put them at a certain point in the list. That doesn't mean they are going to be there at the first Grand Prix, which is why on what I think the pecking order will be at the first Grand Prix is different, because once everyone shows their hand, it's not going to be exactly the same. So, if I was to come away from testing right now and say what the pecking order is, this is what I think it is. I think it's Mercedes first, Red Bull second, third, I'm going to go AlphaTauri. 2 reasons. One, AlphaTauri are looking very, very strong, and they really impressed me with what Yuki Tsunoda was doing in the last hour or so of testing today. But also, McLaren did not do a proper low fuel soft tyre run around the time Tsunoda and Verstappen were doing their runs, because they decided McLaren to go for a race run around that time instead of what AlphaTauri were doing. So that's the reason I've gone AlphaTauri third, because we haven't quite seen what McLaren can do. McLaren have gone 4th. They're still looking good, McLaren. And I still think in the Bahrain Grand Prix, they'll be good. 5th at the moment, I'm going to go for Ferrari. I don't think they have a quicker car than AlphaTauri and McLaren. Again, McLaren still have a bit to show. Aston Martin, I think, will be 6th. The reason I think at the moment they are 6th is, again, they've not quite shown us what they've got, but I think we can definitely say they haven't jumped up in their performance compared to last year. So that's why I've gone Aston Martin 6th. Alpine have gone for P7 because, again, we've not seen where Alpine are really at on low fuel. And then I've gone Alfa Romeo 8th. Will say, though, Alfa Romeo, I think, are very close to the back of that pack. And then Williams are 9th. And then Haas in 10th. That's what I think the pace is at the moment. Now, once everyone shows their real true hand in qualifying for the Bahrain Grand Prix, this is what I think it will be. So it is different from what I think the pecking order is right now, because I'm obviously going to be wrong when we get to Bahrain. The pecking order I just read out is not what it's going to be in 2 weeks, because a team will improve or a team will, finally show their real hand. So what I think the pecking order will be for the first Grand Prix is Mercedes, Red Bull, then McLaren, because I think they will finally show their hand. AlphaTauri 4th, Aston Martin 5th, Ferrari, I'm going to go down in P7 out of the 10 teams, with Alpine in 6th. The reason I'm going Ferrari 7th is for a few reasons. One, I think Aston Martin will improve and they will show their real hand. And of course, they have a Mercedes power unit, and that does work well around this track. Alpine as well, I think they will show a lot more. And they will still probably have a strong power unit with the Renault, of course. And until I see evidence that Ferrari have a lot more power for this year, which I don't see it, because we haven't seen all the teams really run high power. I can't say that Ferrari are going to be quick at power circuits this year. So that is why, really based on 2020, why I've gone for Ferrari down in 7th. So I still think Ferrari won't be quick in Bahrain, but when we get to Imola and then Portimao and the Spanish Grand Prix, I think Ferrari will definitely be a lot stronger there. But for this Grand Prix, I don't think Ferrari will be that strong. I don't see them scoring that many points, to be honest. And then Alfa Romeo 8th, Williams 9th, and Haas in 10th. That's what I think the pecking order will be for the Bahrain Grand Prix. And then for Imola, it'll probably be different from that. You'll probably see teams like AlphaTauri and Ferrari be a bit stronger. But I think definitely the Mercedes-powered teams will be stronger in Bahrain than they will be in Imola, which is, of course, 3 weeks after the Bahrain Grand Prix. So there you go. That's what I think the pecking order is right now. Let's see what you guys have to say in the chat. Michael Arvin says the race will be between Mercedes and Red Bull. The rest will depend on a crash or a failure. And his top 10 is Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo 6th. That's a very big call there. And then Alpine, Ferrari, Williams, and Haas. Nib says, Chaz, come on. I'm waiting for him to post his next comment because I know he's typing away right now. Saying something like, Red Bull have the best car, just admit it, or something like that. Something to that effect. But I think, the pecking order I've gone for is about what I think it will be. Now, just because that's what I think the pecking order is now does not mean I think the Constructors' Championship will finish that way, because, of course, some teams will improve during the season, some teams will fall off. I don't think AlphaTauri will finish the season as strongly as they will start it. But, I think definitely for the start of the season, I'd say the first 6 or 7 races, I think AlphaTauri will probably have one of the top 3 or 4 cars on the grid. And then after that, it'll probably get tough because Ferrari and Alpine and Aston Martin will probably improve quite a bit. Francisco says, I think Alfa can challenge for P6 or P7. Alfa are looking good, but I still think, at least for the first Grand Prix, I think they will be still quite far away from getting into Q3 because I still don't, again, I don't know the amount of power they have. If they're still lacking power compared to the Renault, the Mercedes, and the Honda power units, then Alfa Romeo are probably going to end up, say, 13th, 14th on the grid for the first Grand Prix. But, for example, at Imola and Portimao, I think that'll probably improve by a couple positions. So don't get too disheartened by Alfa Romeo. I think they are going to improve for sure. Let me see if there's any other comments I've missed. But yeah, in the chat and also in the comment section, if you are watching this after, post what you think the pecking order is right now and what you think the pecking order will be, say, after qualifying in Bahrain. Let me know in the comment section down below and in the chat as well. So, Francisco says his top 10 will be Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, AlphaTauri, Alpine 5th, then Ferrari, and then I think he means Aston Martin 7th, and then Alfa Romeo, Williams, and Haas. Yeah. I think, 5th, 6th, 7th is probably, for me, where it's the most hard to predict, because a couple of those teams in there, Alpine and Aston Martin, have not quite shown, again, what they do have compared to, say, Ferrari, McLaren, and AlphaTauri. So, it's hard to predict that area, but I think I'm probably 80% right, I think I am. I'm definitely not 100% right. I'm not going to be that arrogant to say that, but yeah. And you know what? It's 4:15, 15 minutes after practice, or not practice, after testing has finished. I think I'm going to come off now because, that's basically it for the stream. So, thank you guys again like I've said, so much for watching. And as not just today, but, you know, all 3 days, it really does mean a lot to me. And yeah, this year, I want to get the channel going again. And, you know, with better content and all of that. So let's really make this year, you know, a good year and a better year than last year for sure. Yeah, thank you guys so much for the 3 days. Any donations you put in, all of that. Likes, subs, anything. Just thank you guys so much. Again, it really does mean a lot. And again, I will be uploading my next video probably at the end of next week. It'll be me and Nib doing a podcast reviewing pre-season testing. And then the week after, there'll be a season preview, hopefully, before the Bahrain Grand Prix. No guarantee it will come out. And then there will be a... You know what? Fuck it. I will do it. I'm going to do a practice 3 watch-along, then a qualifying watch-along, and then a race watch-along. Hopefully, the race watch-along will feature a certain other person as well. We'll have to see on that. And then after that, really is based on what happens in Bahrain as to content. But yeah, that's the schedule coming up. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, for that content. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. Or go to my channel page and do it there. Hit the notifications bell. Don't forget to smash the like button if you like this video. Don't forget as well to share the video everywhere you can. If you want to contact me, make sure to email me at chazzahdf1 at gmail.com. If you want to join the Discord, contact me. You can. Link below in the description. Also, if you want to be in a server with plenty of like-minded, F1 fans, and not some fans, F1 fans who are not like-minded, but, you know, if you want to debate F1 and all of that, then make sure to join the Discord server. Link below in the description. Again, we have almost 500 people in that server, and it is very active at the moment. So, yeah, make sure to do that. Yeah, comment down below what you thought of testing today. What do you think the pecking order is at the moment? And what do you think it will be after qualifying in Bahrain? Please let me know in the comments section down below. Trying to think, have I done all the plugs? Pretty sure I have. So, yeah, that is it for pre-season testing. And until me and Nib's 2021 pre-season testing review, where we're going to, I think, catch all you guys up to just everything that happened in testing and give all our opinions for the season ahead and what's going to happen. Until then, guys, it has been me, Chazza HD.